But let's gather what's the flavor and the fervor really with regards to the retail mood out there. And who better than Ashish Somaiya from Motilal Oswal to really give us a sense of what the market mood is like. Ashish, hi, good afternoon. What about the market mood, Ashish? A lot better than what we were at perhaps a fortnight back. Recovered quite a fair bit from the March lows. But has that really changed the sentiment on the street or not?
I think compared to what I've seen over many years, the reaction is definitely far more mature and far more measured. And I would say that, there is reasonable amount of stability. March numbers are already there for everyone to see. But as far as April is concerned, I think, there will be some logistical issues and there will be some issues related to sourcing business or enabling customers. So my sense is that inflows would be muted as far as April is concerned. I'm not seeing any spike in redemptions on a day-to-day basis, but my sense is that inflows would be muted for sure.
But what about the lumpy money? Has that not found its way, Ashish, in the decline or the March lows? Has that completely steered clear and sat on the sidelines?
No, see, I mean, in the last few days, a lot of interactions with clients as well as intermediaries. And I think that everybody is watching and everybody is keenly tracking market movements. But I think there is, like I mentioned, as far as lumpy money is concerned, I mean, not everybody can invest large chunks of money 100% digitally. So that's where I was coming from when I said that there will be logistical issues. And this is not only just related to the market. In fact, when I'm saying logistical issues, it's also more about people being able to action transactions or being able to coordinate transactions. So there is that bit of an issue. As far as retail transactions are concerned, whatever can be done 100% digitally, if I see the number of retail transactions which are happening digitally, I have seen a spurt up in the last few weeks. But when you're asking lumpy money, I think that apart from watching markets, there is also a logistical challenge. That's how I would put it.
Ashish, given the RBI's commentary today, real estate, NBFCs, do you see an opportunity there? Do you see some relief?
No, I expect people to be circumspect about these sectors, at least for the next 3 to 4 months. I'm pretty sure that there is some relief from the kind of announcements that are coming through. And there is definitely a lot being done to assuage the concerns or to give relief. But I think the jury is still out on how the sector fares. And that I think we have to watch. We will know only by July, August, September as to how things really pan out.
Okay, all eyes also continue to be on the stimulus. Which are the pockets you feel are most likely to benefit from any announcement that may come in?
See, if you ask me, I would expect something, for example, I mean, I would expect something for auto. That's how I would put it. Real estate has not been the favorite sector really, but I do believe that, see, these are the two areas which need maximum support if one is keeping an eye as far as employment generation and normalization of activity is concerned. And both these sectors have been in the dumps for a variety of reasons over the last 2 years, and maybe real estate slightly longer. Now, I'm not an authority or expert on how, and I have not seen much happening on the real estate front as of yet, other than just helping the financial side of it a little bit. But I would, if I have to make a bet, I would be more bullish or I would be more positive with expectations related to auto as a sector. That's how I would put it.
Ashish, good afternoon. Wanted to get in your take on the earnings. You've got TCS in particular that I'd like to ask you about. Given the fact that the management has said that the impact of COVID-19 as of now, he has said that it is difficult to predict what they could see in the coming quarters. But the scenario, they said that they have modeled in the worst case and, they will be able to grow from Q3 FY21 onwards. How have you read into the quarterly performance and what has been your take on TCS?
No, it is. I mean, all disclaimers in place because we have holdings in most of our portfolios. Nothing in. I mean, I don't invest in stocks myself, but I'm speaking more from what the mutual funds seem to be owning. So our perspective is positive. We already had money invested out there, and as we speak, it is a positive perspective that we have on bulk of the sector. Actually, if you ask me, all the large companies, we are reasonably positive on them. And I think what came out of yesterday's result announcement is encouraging in that sense, because I think that I mean, there's no correlation between the two directly, but if you ask me, really a lot of the issues are more related to logistics and getting people on ground. So my sense is that deal flow and while the existing business continues because a lot of it is digital. But I think that it's the deal flow and people's willingness to commit more amidst so much of uncertainty. I think that is where the slowness seems to be coming from. But as even they indicated about the second quarter onwards, my sense is that all efforts related to digitization, all efforts related to business continuity, a lot of these things will actually get more traction going on from here. If I give you my own example, I've been in the industry last 20 years, and we've been doing this business continuity kind of simulations every 6 months. Probably this is the first time I am seeing that we are actually made to use it, and I'm so glad that everything works. So if you ask me, for all these big IT companies, my sense is that the salience and the growth of business will only go up. And right now, I don't think one should read anything into the slowness, because apart from business issues, it's just that sheer logistics and sheer willingness to commit amidst uncertainty has taken a bit of a backseat. But with a lag effect, my sense is there is only growth which is going to accrue to these industries.
Fleeing to the safe haven greenback at a time like this, and we've seen that result in the currency at an all-time low near the US dollar, close to 76.8. What about the export linked sectors? How are you looking at that play in a market like this?
No, see, I mean, one cannot generalize across all exports, because it's also a question of what is the target industry or the target market that they are really aiming at. So if you see, pharma clearly is in tailwinds, and not just because of HCQ and a couple of companies associated with that, but on the other hand, if you really see, even longer term perspective, US business prospects seem to be on the uptick, or at least the prospects seem to have brightened, or whatever, from media personnel like yourselves, whatever we have been getting a sense over the last few weeks about better business relationships with parts of the Western world, it seems to be actually playing out if you follow the news flow itself. So pharma is clearly in a tailwind kind of space for multiple reasons right now, because last 4 or 5 years has all been about US FDA actions and pricing controls. But I think the clouds seem to be kind of moving right now. As far as IT is concerned, like I mentioned, company specific, you might find some pluses and minuses. But overall, my sense is that barring this 1 quarter of slowness or uncertainty, with a lag effect, there are tailwinds for everybody to see from here on. So at this juncture, where the world is amidst uncertainty, as far as export is concerned, I wouldn't draw conclusions just based on where the currency is going, but I would also kind of pay attention to what are the target markets and what are the individual circumstances that we are facing.
All right, fair enough. Ashish, where do you stand on the banks, the private banks? They've been going through a seesaw, and of course, the RBI doing its bit to ensure ample liquidity. We have seen limited transmission, but where do you stand on these banks, as we also prime for a recovery, even if it is 4 months down the line?
See, I think it's not the first time that we are going to see an air pocket as far as retail side of the banking business is concerned, or it's not the first time that we are going to go amidst a air pocket on the unsecured lending. I mean, we have seen these kind of patches in, say, 2008, for example. I mean, there were certain institutions or certain banks who had great growth in retail credit cards, unsecured kind of lending in 2007, 2008. And we have a sense of, what worked and what didn't work. So on that basis, one doesn't get very, very pessimistic about what is happening right now. I mean, I know that, say, if you were to talk 6 months, 9 months back, a lot of the private sector banks were actually the safe haven, and it was like a foregone conclusion that they would always do well and they would always deliver. So I can see that kind of one-sided belief has been questioned at this point in time. So I'm not in that camp, but I would still say that from here on, it's not that these guys don't have this experience. I think we have seen such a cycle, like I mentioned before, and I think that some of the pessimism is probably overdone. That is one thing to keep in mind. Second thing to keep in mind is that it's not just about the economy or the NPAs and how things will pan out on the retail front in the next 3 months. It's not just about that. The other thing which one needs to really also look at is that interest rates are kind of going to go down through the floor. That's an exaggeration, but literally somewhat like that. And there is great pressure from RBI to grow credit. So my sense is that NIMs could be under a bit of declining kind of stress. That is something to watch out for. But I think the strong ones who have a good track record in the past, they would still continue to be the winners. As far as NBFCs are concerned, I think overall as a house, barring 1 or 2 cases here and there, over the last 12 to 18 months, even before we hit this COVID impact, we were quite low in terms of our NBFC exposures, as practically negligible kind of exposure, and that remains that way. But as far as the leading private sector banks are concerned, I wouldn't be too pessimistic. One has to also keep in mind how much the market has already factored in, because they've lost like 40-50% of their market cap in the last few weeks.
Okay, so that's sound advice coming in on some of those banks as well, and putting things into perspective there. Which are some of the pockets, Ashish, which would be a clear avoid at this point?
So, see, anything which is very heavily linked, if you really ask me, there are counter views to this, but anything which needs a heavy amount of financial support and intervention from the government. So, all these public-private partnerships, long-drawn projects, a lot of capital-intensive stuff. And my sense is that that is something which anything which is leverage, that's classic 101 in these kind of situations, that anything which is very capital-intensive, highly leveraged, that is something which would take a back burner. My sense is that, and again, I don't think many people believe in what I'm saying, but my past experience tells me that when we get to the other side of this tunnel, what I quoted for banks that, rates are under pressure, etc. Now you see it on the other side of the story. We are going to come out of this with extremely low interest rates and reasonably high liquidity and a global environment which will be kind of benign. So my sense is that anything and everything which has seen demand postponement and anything and everything which depends on availability of credit and attractive interest rates, I would say that I would wager that in the next 6 months, those things will find traction. So you can imagine, my sense is that a good contra bet would be auto right now. And within auto, if you ask me, passenger vehicles would make a lot of sense, because for a variety of reasons, last 12 to 18 months has seen demand postponement. And another air pocket has been hit in the last few weeks. But when we come out of this on the other side, I think that some of the demand which was postponed will come back. And we will also find ourselves in a situation where banks will be just too happy to lend. And what is easier than to lend for mortgages and auto? So, if we don't have a massive destruction in the white collar or the urban demand or the salaried class, and if we also assume that rural has a less depth of impact, then my sense is that some parts of auto should come back quite strongly in 6 months.
and it's 91.84. Barring FMCG and pharma, you've got support coming in from all quarters, particularly real estate, autos, and the Nifty Bank Index, which is up about 3.5%. Media too is packing in a punch, and within the broader universe, you've got the indices holding out by nearly 2% or so. Ashish, curious about your take within the pharma space. What's the outlook here? Given the fact that we've seen most of these stocks rallying off late, the sense is that the COVID-19 pandemic has once again set most of these stocks on fire, and experts asking whether this is the start of a second major bull run. Would you concur?
See, a little bit of it is sentimental because pharma is kind of front and center and it's like on everybody's attention and radar. But I don't think pharma can be seen as a sector really. I mean, it is actually company specific because they all have different specializations and practices and markets and expertise. So one has to go stock by stock. But I think that if I were to still insist on taking a broad sector view, then I agree that, it is seeing the positive light of day. And I don't think it has got just to do with COVID-19 and the supply of HCQ or the export of paracetamol or something like that. I think it has got a lot to do with the fact that the way the winds were blowing, maybe the direction of the winds would change, and that is more relating to export markets and US and the FDA and a slew of clearances coming in the last 7 to 15 days. So I think that is what has caused the change of mood. So COVID-19 is one thing, but what COVID-19 has caused in terms of the second order effect or the change of business dynamics, I think that is what seems to be encouraging people. The other thing is that it's massively under-owned. So what I've seen is that when market is in a bad mood and when things turn bad, then the over-owned stocks start falling amidst low volumes. On the other hand, when the sentiment changes, then the under-owned stocks start rising amidst low volumes. So I think it's more, under-owned, anything which is under-owned right now, and people are probably scrambling to make up for it. So there is change of business dynamics, and I would say it looks positive from here. Also, don't forget that from its previous peak, the pharma index is still 30 to 40% lower than where it used to be about 4 or 5 years back. So this is early days, I guess.
Ashish, just one final comment. Of course, given all that you said and given how you're viewing the markets right now, talk to us also about the NFO and what we can look forward to there, how the thought behind it, and what's in store.
Yeah, so this is one thing I'm quite excited about because we have now, we already had India's one and only Nasdaq 100 index fund, and now so like we have a very big active practice, I think we also have a creative or innovative bit to our asset management business. And 2012 is when we did the Nasdaq 100 fund, and this time around what we've got the approval and we've launched is the S&P 500 index fund. So it's India's one and only S&P 500 index fund, which enables local investors to invest as little as 500 rupees and put it towards buying the US S&P 500 index. So as you know, I put it always that that's the world's large cap index, or that's probably the world's A group. These are some of the largest companies in the whole world. Largest company in the index being $1 trillion, and the smallest company in the index also being close to $2 billion in terms of size of market cap. So I think it's a great opportunity. I would just like to clarify that the timing is incidental. I did not know when we filed for the approval somewhere in the fag end of last year. We did not know what the world is about to go through or what corrections we will witness. But be that as it may, I think it's an opportune time to start investing. And I think Indian investors, just like if you see foreigners own 25% of our total market cap. So there's a reason why people diversify. And I think Indian investors should also diversify geography as well as currency. And this is a great place to start.
Right, that's the take coming in on the NFO, and of course, Ashish, entirely unprecedented, the kind of times that we're looking at right now. But great to have you on board. Thanks much for taking time out and joining in. As we take a quick